All righty. Okay, so welcome, ladies. Welcome to our talking circle. I know some ladies said that they were going to be running a little bit late today, so I wanted to start right away and get into my smudge. If you don't have a smudge kit, that's okay. That's no big deal. I just need one. I need a smudge today. And it's funny that we're talking about this topic because I feel like everything always happens for a reason or at a certain time or like something's going on. And I don't know why I chose this topic. It just something came to me where I wanted to discuss it. And then I had a bunch of people reach out to me for relationship advice. And then going through taking my own relationship advice, as a pregnant mom of two little toddlers who is sometimes a hormonal nightmare. I've been having to challenge myself in my own relationship and so perfect timing, of course. So yes, just needed a smudge. So if you have your smudge, if you don't have your smudge, that's okay. If you do have your smudge at home, the one thing that I like to remember is this cleansing. I have this anchoring cleansing sense to the smell of the sage and the cedar and the tobacco and sweetgrass. Those are the four medicines that I use in my smudge kit. So I use the white sage, dry cedar, and tobacco and sweetgrass. And then that smoke just allows all of the negative energy to be cleansed from you and surround you with positivity, which is exactly what we want for tonight's talking circle. Tonight I want you to be as honest as you possibly can. And the reason I say that is mostly for yourself, mostly for your own personal benefit of the perspective that you'll get when you allow yourself to open up. So before we get into today's topic, let's start with gratitude. So let's share one thing that you are grateful for. Let's go over to, I won't pick Betty Jean because she's munching down on something. Erin, how are you doing?
Ice. I'm munching on ice.
Oh, okay. We'll go to Erin first, and then we'll go to Betty Jean. So one thing that you're grateful for tonight, hon.
Wow, I did my gratitude journal today already, and there were so many things. But I had to go to a doctor's appointment today, and the doctor really stood up for me. And that's really something you don't see often. He's like, no, that other doctor has no business, no knowledge, and absolutely no business being in this area. It's mine. And if the state board wants to get involved, I have no problem taking it there. And I was like, well, doesn't the patient have any say? And he's like, well, yeah, what do you want? I said, well, I want you to handle it. And and he goes, well, I think we're done. So my gratitude really is for, being able to say what I want. And the second thing was also the gratitude of this doctor owning this issue and saying, I'm going to take care of this for you. Mm-hmm. So with that, I am the utmost grateful. Thank you so much, Layla.
Yeah. And you know what, that's interesting that you talk about that with doctors, because they have such a power or authority that if they really took invested interest in their patients to, like you said, stand up for them in their best interest, they could get a lot done. But a lot of times with doctors, it's sometimes like, figure it out and bring it to me, or, go seek expert advice somewhere else, and kind of, you don't really feel like you matter. So that's awesome. I'm glad that you had a great experience. Okay, Betty Jean. Oh, you're muted.
There, I'm unmuted now.
Okay.
There we go. For me, family has always been very important. So arriving here on the West with my youngest son and his beautiful girlfriend Tiffany and daughter Lana has been really sweet. And yesterday Tiffany cooked the entire day, so it brought back memories of how I would spend an entire day cooking. And sometimes if you only have your kids when they're young, they're like done in 5 minutes, right? Or they don't even like what you've cooked and you've just spent all day doing it. And she invited some friends who had 2 kids. So, you know, there was like 8 of us for supper, and I felt wonderful because that's what I used to do when my kids were younger. We had a few friends that were single or whatever, but always had more people there, and everybody, you know, just really enthralled with the whole supper. It was great. It went on till about 8 in the evening here, which back in Aurelia time is 11 at night. So, you know, my whole time frame is short. But for family and for being together like that is warmed my heart very much. So I am totally grateful. Well, being cooked for is the second part of being grateful, because I don't normally get that. That was sweet. She's a good cook.
That's awesome. Yeah. Lucky son for sure.
And this son likes to clean. I tried to teach all my boys certain things, but this one got it like really well. You're not even done your supper and he's cleaning up after you and doing all the chores like that. And I'm going, sweet.
Lisa B in house.
Lisa.
Looking good, Mama. Awesome. So yeah, that's amazing. I saw your pictures with you and your son.
It's so hot right now. Trying to cool off. Oh my God, it's so freaking hot. So hot here. I can't even lose it.
Sweaty look. I like the sweaty look. So Lisa B's coming in from Costa Rica. We'll get to your gratitude in a second. You think about that one for a second. Let's go over to Susan Strong. Susan, how you doing? We love that color on you.
Thank you. Teal's my color.
Yeah, it is your color for sure. Your Facebook Live, you were popping.
Yeah. Oh, what am I grateful for? I tell you, today I'm really grateful for what happened right before this started. My daughter's birthday is the 23rd. She's going to be 26, and I had asked her, "What do you want?" And she's an ornithologist, which means she studies birds, and she's planned to start graduate school next year. She also loves caterpillars and butterflies, and there was some book on caterpillars in North America that she wanted, but it's out of print, and it was like just crazy expensive. She's like, "It's too expensive for you to get for me." Well, I got it. I found a seller on eBay who had a new one and one on Amazon that had a used one, and I sent messages to both and gave them a lowball offer on it and explained what I was getting it for and blah, blah, blah. Well, the guy on eBay said yeah and was glad it was going to a good home. And so she received the book, and her boyfriend videoed her opening it up. So, which is just priceless, especially when you live so far apart. But I was I'm so grateful for her. I'm so grateful to be able to make her happy. And she was ecstatic.
Oh, that's an awesome story. That's fantastic. I'm so glad that you could make that happen. And see, technology these days, and it never hurts to ask and send that. I bet like that most people wouldn't think to send a personal message or to explain, hey, you want to do a deal for something special, you want to make a difference to someone, and it's just that little bit of caring. That's nice. Awesome. Okay, let's go over to Christy. Christy, let's share your gratitude. What are you grateful for?
I am thankful, and my gratitude is for Indigo being here. My friend Indigo is on here. Not just for her. There's a whiff a minute from me. She's been there through when I was going through discovering things with my husband. So she knows deeper stuff, and we're both here back in San Antonio together, and yeah, you're going to be seeing a lot of her on Facebook soon.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, Indigo, you were actually one of the first ladies. I like women who are on time. She's like, okay, so what do I expect now? We're like, we never know what to expect. That's the thing. So yeah, Indigo, share something that you are grateful for today. We'll go over to you.
Actually, I am grateful for sisterhood. And being prior military, you lose touch with that because you're constantly in motion and moving. And I'm really grateful that Chrissy's back in San Antonio. That's what's in it for me. So I'm grateful for sisterhood.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely a shared mutual gratitude, especially when we all come together on our talking circles or workshops or, all these different women from different walks of life who, just have this unspoken, unseen connection. Really powerful. So thank you. Thank you for coming. We're glad that you made it for your first time. Newbie in the house. Popping cherries, popping cherries. All right. So let's go over to actually who was the first one, because I'm always like kind of watching in the background. I was just getting ready, but she was the first one, was Lexi Hanna. So Lexi, come on out here and share something that you're grateful for today.
Hey everyone, how are you?
We are awesome.
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me. I'm Lexi and I am from Alberta, Canada. I've met Layla through her husband, Toby, who I'm working with at the moment. He's mentoring me. And what's her name? Brenda Cardenas? Met her as well.
Denise.
Denise.
She's going to be running late. She's on the West Coast too, so she's still in mommy mode. But yeah, Denise, she's awesome.
So I kind of met her through your husband as well. So it's been great working with your husband, Phil. I'm really grateful for his course and what I'm learning and where it's getting me so far. It's been a really eye-opening experience. It's been great. It's challenged me big time, which is what I wanted. And it's taking my business to the next level. So I'm really, really grateful.
Well, I'll have to let Toby know that he got shout outs on the Women's Connection tonight. Yeah, challenging for sure. Stretching for sure. Yeah, he will push you places. Okay, so let's keep going. April, good to see you, girl. How are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
It took me forever to get my camera to work. I was like, what's happening? I'm thankful that I got my camera to work, for one. And that, I've been reading a lot or listening to some CDs that's sort of a Abraham Hicks-esque. It's not actually them, but it's something similar. And the power of giving thanks, I'm thankful for that because there's, I'm re-entering the information in my mind about how when we give thanks, there's like a quantum physics thing that happens, and we vibrate this higher level of vibration, and it affects everything around us. And the more I hear that, and the more it just gets stronger inside of me. I'm thankful for that, and knowing that, and being able to utilize that, because it means something. It's not just religious thing. It means something. It actually affects something.
That's awesome. It actually does, on like a cellular level, as you say, the vibrational frequency that you're operating at. And it's interesting because in my traditional Haudenosaunee First Nations background, every time there's a ceremony or celebration, it's called the Thanksgiving address. And it's at the very beginning, and it's probably about, it could be like sometimes 19, 20 minutes long, where they go through a giving thanks process, and they give thanks to everything from the birds to the running brooks and the fish and the soil and the wind blowing the seeds. Like, it is extensive. And a lot of people, they get bored because it also in this, in the Mohawk language. So it's it's very kind of monotone, and it can seem boring. So when I was doing an event out there after that Thanksgiving address, I just brought awareness back to why our people, our First Nations Indigenous people, did that, and why it was so important at the beginning of every single ceremony to spend that 20 minutes and that all of that time and energy and focus and quiet and intention on giving thanks. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Let's go. We got Lisa B in the house. Okay, let's go to Lisa B, and then we'll go to Shar.
Okay, cool. So I just wanted to do two quick things. The first one, since we're talking relationships tonight, I'm so grateful that my kids are so close and just so happy with each other. And they went off to the beach together today. My big boy driving the cruiser and cruising off to the secret beach. And Phil and I were both like, they want to take you to the beach. Why don't you take yourselves? And then it was like, you know, they had such a good time and like took these awesome photos, and they love hanging out together. And because I didn't have that growing up. You know, my sister and I fought like cats and dogs, never became close. And they swear, oh, we didn't get along when we were little. And I know they kind of did. And I know Tristan was the big brother watching out for her. But now it's like they're both like teenagers. In this funny way, they're kind of on this similar wavelength. And I love the way they're relating to each other. I mean, there's a couple things Tristan's rubbing off a little bit on Elle, but I just love sort of this camaraderie they have right now. And she's all like, I'm going to introduce you to my friends. And like, it's just like this amazing, neat thing happening between them. And I just really think.
How far apart are they?
Yeah. 5 years. So
That's
she's
awesome.
18 and a half and she's 13 and a half. But she's so mature. I mean, she's just like really mature. And so she has this, and she's big girl. So she looks older. So she can kind of hang with the bigger kids. And I think it's just neat. Like Tristan's hanging out. And he's feeling really good and groovy. And I just love the energy that those right now. It's really sweet.
That's awesome. I was thinking that I had that exact same thought today as my two kids were hugging each other. Like just they hug each other all the time. And Hendrix was pretending to be Beatrice's baby, and she was patting him. And they're 15 months apart. And as crazy as my life is sometimes, just like trying to make sure children don't run into the street and like just getting car doors open and getting groceries in the car, like it's just everything's an adventure, but
totally
thinking about it today, but
it's this neat like other level now. It's like they're responsible for themselves, their own bodies, like they can take themselves somewhere, and that is the amazing feeling. Like I don't worry, like they're cool, and it's like they're not going to bump furniture. You're not gonna get into the electricity the wrong way. It's funny.
I can't wait for them to be that age and like to be 16, 17 and just I love it. I love seeing the relationship develop. It's a really magical thing seeing that bond develop between your kids. Cool. Awesome. Okay, let's go to Shar. Shar, one thing you are grateful for today. Oh, you're on mute. Wait. You're speaking to no one right now.
All right. Totally forgot. Oh, dear. Well, first and foremost, I was pretty grateful for leftovers because I didn't have to cook dinner. We, of course, had dinner last night. And even though we're a separated family, I still was able to cook dinner and have the kids all around and their dad and everybody. So that was kind of cool that we're kind of at that place, right? And the fact that I had leftovers today and I didn't have to slave in the kitchen, I got a lot accomplished today. We put up the kids' trampoline outside and I moved my tower garden from inside to outside. I pressure washed the deck and got all kinds of things done. So it was a very, very productive day. So I'm very grateful for that, in fact.
Awesome. I love getting things done. Feels good.
It really
feels outdoorsy things. I don't know. There's like this sense of accomplishment, like when you accomplish something outdoorsy. Like,
well, And especially this time of year after winter has been so long and everything's dirty and gross out, and it just feels good to finally get out there and get things kind of in order, right?
Yeah, I hear you, especially up here in Canada. Eh? Okay, anybody? I don't see any other cameras on, so I'm not sure if that means that you are on a pass. So we're gonna pass you unless you turn your camera on or speak now. Speak now. Okay, so we'll come back. Maybe the ladies are unavailable. You never know what could be going on in a woman's world. Oh, I think I see Angel coming into the light in her pink robe. Yes! The pink robe is in action. Okay, Angel, you have to share your gratitude. We're feeling good tonight.
What am I grateful for today? Good evening, ladies.
There's a moving chair in the background.
I'm very grateful that I'm able to go home to attend the wake and the burial of my dad. I've been trying last week, but because it's Holy Week, there's no flight. So I just said, if I meant to go home, everything will just happen. There will be a plane ticket. And so that's what I'm very grateful for today. And all of you ladies, this wonderful community with so much support and love and friends around me who's giving us support, because it's only now I understand how it is with dealing with loss. I remember talking with Nikki that it's okay. I can have pattern interrupts and stuff like that doing the FB lives. But this last 2 days, I think it hit me that I can't even do Facebook lives now. But I said, I want to be here. I want to bring this beautiful energy with me with my trip tomorrow. And I will be there for, it's really just a week because of all the commitments I have here. So my family understands. It's just they want me to be there during the burial, being the eldest. So I said, okay, I'll find a plane ticket. There will be a plane ticket for me if I'm meant to be home. And it happened today. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Well, we are grateful for you, Angel, and you know that we are all sending all of our love and energy to you on your travels back to the Philippines, to see your family. And I'm so grateful that it all worked out, that you were able to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting, though. Like we met, when did we meet? Thursday, and you were training, and you were speaking, and you were being so strong, and having such strength in it. And it's powerful to see the process and understand that it's okay, the journey that you're on emotionally, of there's no wrong or right way to deal with loss. Like you said, it's just a process and a journey. And I'm glad that you are having a couple days where it hits you. I think it's supposed to. And
yeah,
it's kind of how it's supposed to go. So we are grateful for you and sending all our energy. I know you're packing and stuff, so you don't have to stay on camera tonight if you don't want to. Let's go over to Sophie. Sophie, you always look like you're in a nightclub disco or something. Okay, one thing that you are grateful for.
It's just because I'm always outside in my patio. I have a purple lighting, so I apologize. Inside there's always so much going on, and I don't want to.
And you kind of look a little bit like a DJ, like with the headphones. You're like, oh,
exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like my life. No, today I'm totally grateful because officially both my babies are out of diapers. Such a huge thing. I've been working on potty training for probably 2 years. And obviously I didn't know that my older son was autistic, so I didn't realize that that's why he was having so much trouble. And the baby originally was super into it, but then was like, no, I'm a baby. So he just checked out, and today started, like maybe Thursday I brought it in, but he went out of town for the weekend with his grandfather, and then came back today, and I told the school, no, I bought 20 pairs of underwear. Here you go. No more diapers. And his awesome school, they have an app, so throughout the day they're like, he ate so and so, and he, you know, went to the bathroom, and they send pictures, and they're like, he took a nap. It's awesome daycare. And so all day was like, he went by himself. And yes, this for real. So grateful. No more diapers.
Yay, that is big time celebrations. I feel you.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well, today my husband and I get to spend some time together, which is hardly ever, and we got so many important little things that need to be done, like passport photos and permits and just insurance on the cars and tags and, you know, the things that nobody wants to take care of, and they're just done. So that's a great thing. I'm feeling pretty great.
awesome. Yeah,
Yes. And I love you ladies. I appreciate every single one of you. So I'm grateful for that more than pretty much everything. I love you guys.
Oh, thank you. We love you too, for sure. And it's that common appreciation of like, I just know how valuable all of you are, and these connections and this community, and just the ability to relate to each other and to connect with each other and to build these bonds and these bridges is priceless in my life in so many ways. So having that gratitude, specifically one thing that I am grateful for is the ability to breathe. And so today I walked all the way down to the river to do this Facebook Live. And Toby's like, okay, well, you got to use the Osmo because it's this fancy new selfie stick that, you know, and it has, he's like, look, it has this beauty app. So he like shows me the beauty app, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm pretty sold on that. That's awesome. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the river and use this Osmo. I get there and like I'm out of breath. I finally get down to the river, and like I think I was live for 12 seconds and the battery died. I'm like, what the heck? Okay, I don't have an iPhone 7. I've got the iPhone 6, I think, or something, because Layla loses phones and she doesn't get the new ones. Toby's got the new one. But so my phone, I just like sucked the battery out of it. So then I'm like, oh man, well, I had this awesome Facebook Live planned, like running up the hill, all the way up the hill to my house, up this giant hill. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. And I just took a moment at that second to be so grateful. As I caught my breath, I was like, really, I was like, I need to be aware of this, because it's bringing me back to life, because I was like dying. But yeah, the ability to breathe. And there's been a few situations that have happened in the last few days where I have just had to breathe, you know, testing 3-year-old girls that have little attitudes, and, you know, just, it's been like crazy. I'm like, I don't know how to raise a daughter, maybe. Like all these crazy questions happening. And I'm like, Layla, just breathe. Layla, just breathe. So I am so grateful for breath, even though in my pregnant state, it is sometimes forced and laborsome. All right, so let's get to it. So let's talk about sex, baby. No, I'm just joking. So it's funny because I wanted Nikki to come. I was talking to her earlier, but I think she had something going on. I wanted Nikki to come because last time she was on I think it was a talking circle, but it was our full moon ceremony, and she was talking about her sex life and how these things that we've manifested through some of these ceremonial rituals and some of these belief patterns and thought processes have, blown up her sex life. So I wanted her to share on that, but maybe we'll just have to convince her to do a Facebook Live. So what I want you to think about in your own life, and I want you to think about 2 relationships. I want you to think about one relationship that is very healthy and positive for you. One relationship that has served you and brought you a lot of amazing feelings, a lot of love, it's been very beneficial to your life. And that person will probably pop up pretty quickly. You'll be like, okay, I could think of someone that's been positive in my life. And then I want you to think, on the other hand, someone that's been unhealthy for you, someone that has been negative, had a negative impact, someone that has held you back in some way, has stopped you in your journey, been a roadblock, been a point of resistance. So there's a reason I want you to think of these 2 people, because I really want us to, by the end of this talking circle, and as we share, if you want to share, you don't have to share, it's not like mandatory, but it's a great way to heal and to awaken that perspective and that ability to see some of the significant differences between those 2 relationships. So first of all, anybody want to share anything that popped up like right away to them? Yeah, Betty Jean?
Hey, there we go. I'm on mute. Yeah, because it's been a very difficult time for me in the last few years of my life, and it has come to a real good understanding in the last few months, and some of it very painful, but still good. And I am being out here actually with my son, and able to share it with him. So the person that came into me that has been very positive in my life all the way through, it seems, is a friend of mine named Laura. I could name, my kids have been too, but truly Laura is a friend. She's been there through thick and thin. She knows it all. She's seen it all. We've teased about one time we came home from southern Ontario. We drove all the way back up to northern Ontario. We're talking that's a 24-hour drive. Her and me and 2 of my kids, Jamie and one other, Travis, and a friend named Mitch. And boys, what one doesn't think of, the other one doesn't. I got so mad at Jamie, I put him out of the car. I threw him out of the car and left him on the side of the highway and started driving off. And Mitch is going, are you seriously going to leave him there? I said, I'm darn thinking of it. I don't know. I may go back, but right now I just got to get out of sight. And he was a teenager, so whatever. I went back and got him. He's still around, kind of thing. But and when we got to Sula Coach, she said, I love you. I love your kids. I look forward to seeing you soon, but I need a break from them. It'll be a while. And I could honestly say that because they exhausted her. She's never had kids, although she's a teacher. And that experience. And it was so wonderful to be so honest because it was a difficult time. And like I said to Lana tonight, that I almost lost them over Niagara Falls because we stopped at Niagara Falls on our trip. And I was never so scared as a mother because they're all peering over the edge and trying to hang on to them. And they're from the north, so they're sneaking off under fences to get closer. And like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so Laura has been there. And still to this day, we do an annual Mariposa Folk Festival, and she'll come up for an entire weekend. And Saturday's my day with my grandkids back in Aurelia. And she's taken on being with me with 6 grandkids on a Saturday in a festival, ages 6 and under. Like, that's not easy, man. And thankfully she is a teacher, and not many could handle that. But Jeff would bring them at like 10 in the morning and pick them up at 6 at night. But still, that's a big day kind of thing. So she's been there, and
That's a good
always.
friend.
She's a
That's
good friend.
So what would you say is one of the things about your relationship that has really made it so positive? Like one of the things about her specifically?
Non-judgmental. She's not, she doesn't judge about things. She tells it how it is. Like she said, I love you, but I don't want to see the kids for a while. Like I'm really done, like with them right now after that trip. And so she could be direct and honest, but you didn't feel condemnation, or you didn't feel any of that. It was just direct,
Okay.
like that.
Good to acknowledge. So, and in the opposite aspect, the negative influence or the negative relationship that has impacted you.
Well, actually, and that centers around two members of my family, and both of them are at the height and part of what happened in my standing up and speaking my truth. As I, spoke my truth to my oldest sister and my oldest son, actually, the two of them, and it was harsh and it was direct, and it was not without a lot of thought what went to them, because I wrote it and then thought about it and added it and that kind of thing. But I needed to speak my truth. So I have still, since that, been hammered for it because my truth didn't agree with my older sister. My son has just gone quiet right now, and I think he's processing things differently, but she is rebuttaling with, I guess you could say, that it's all wrong kind of thing, and challenging me to the point of taking my post off of Facebook because she didn't like how it read kind of thing, and a lot of judgment. So I have not responded back to her barrage of negativity towards me since it happened, because I want to respond to it, not react to it. And as I said, actually, to my son, that I'm out here, her and my son, oldest son, are my biggest teachers in terms of making me look at relationships, about why there's a struggle, because we contract to be in with the people we're in our lifetime. I believe that, it's not by accident that we're struggling with these things. So I welcome that going through, and I've learned a lot from it. But
yeah, that actually brings me to the third part of my question that I want to leave you with to think about. Is I can definitely see the difference in those two relationships. The non-judgmental, as opposed to your sister, who, in all my experiences, since everything that you've shared with me, is the complete opposite of, judging everything and having a set way, or having a way it's supposed to be, or what you're supposed to do sort of mentality. So you can see the contrast in what you feel is screwy, what you feel is not. So I want you to think about, and again, coming almost really back to the gratitude, it's easy to think about why you're grateful for Laura, why you're grateful for your relationship, why you love that relationship, why you couldn't live without that relationship. But I really want you to think about your sister and what you would be missing without that relationship, and what you're grateful for in that relationship. We can clearly identify the triggers of resistance in the relationship, and I think that those are clear and probably pretty hammered in. But taking a little bit more time to think about, okay, well, what have I learned? You said that already, but also, what would I miss? What would I be missing in my life if I didn't have this relationship? What have I gained from it? And I just want to leave you with that. So I want to move on, though. Keep it rolling here. So anyone else have anything pop up to them as far as a positive person in their life, like right away? Did the positive one come pretty easily or difficult?
Since everybody's jumping at the bit there to answer, I'll come out.
Toby always tells me the first one to speak loses. So if I ask a question, I will sit in silence until it is answered.
Absolutely. Especially in sales negotiations. The first question was rather hard for me to think of somebody that has affected me so positively. There's been people in my life that, that have known me since I was a kid and are still in my life, but aren't a great influence positively or negatively in my life in any manner. And that includes some family members. So it really took me a while, and I did come up with somebody, but he's no longer in my life. But it comes back to, he and I were friends for 17 years, and it was a non-sexual relationship, and he's older than I am. And to be frank and honest, it was in a 12-step meeting that I met him. And I was friends with his wife at the time. Actually, I was at their wedding, and we all traveled together as a group and did all sorts of great things. And we had this relationship where we could really call each other on our crap and say, do you just realize what you said? Or we could really get deep and also really meaningful in that, get past that, superficial layer or superficial 2 or 3 layers and really get down to the meat of stuff. It was actually one of the best relationships I've had in a very long time, and kind of sad to see it go. There was some negativity there too, but it all weighed out.
Yeah, it sounds like that essence of being able to call someone on their crap in a loving way, in a loving and nurturing way, where it's not they're trying to make you feel bad about it, they're trying to make you feel little, they're trying to make themselves feel better. It's none of that. It's just, this is the truth, and I'm telling you because I love you sort of relationship. And I think that's a very common trend in probably a lot of your positive relationships. You'll notice that's a trait within them, is that you can be honest without getting offended. Now I know, Aaron, as far as some of the relationships that may have had negative impacts, you could probably think of a few. I think that in itself is interesting, and something also to reflect on, of maybe there is some essence, some part of you that doesn't allow people to infiltrate, to put that wall up.
There's 100% truth to what you're saying, Layla. 100% truth. And that was one thing that I worked on quite heavily with that individual. And the person that hurt me the most, impacted my life most negatively. Sorry guys. Was somebody I let in very deeply and loved and was going to marry, and I trusted, and I was lied to and deceived and manipulated, and I just, to the point of it's hard to trust after getting all that done.
Yeah, it's hard to let someone have a positive impact on your life after that, right?
Right, and coming from a family of addicts, you learn that people are not trustworthy. So that wall is definitely up, but I can hopefully say that that wall is not as high as it, not as thick as it used to be.
Yeah, there's a few ropes going over, and that's the thing. Like you said, though, you said something interesting, is that it was a learned behavior, not to trust people, especially growing up in that environment. So as we understand this, we also understand that, hey, we can learn, we can relearn, we can learn new behaviors. And in the future journey of relationships and potential and possibility and opportunity, opening up some of those doors back up again through, all the work that you're doing. So awesome. So yeah, I want you to think about, I'm sure, like we said, that person that hurt you, you can think of, a million reasons, a million negative things that they've done in your life. And they were pretty easy to think of when I asked who has had the most negative impact on your life. But it also means that they have had the most impact on your life. It may have been negative, but we can take that power, you can take that energy of all of that negative impact and understand, well, it was an impact though. So how can I turn that meteor that impacted me so harshly, how can I turn that power back into something that is going to fuel me rather than crumble my planet? So thinking back to, how have I become stronger? What have I learned? And, what would I be missing if that person had never came into my life? And as difficult as that question will be to ask, because you'd be like, well, I wish that person never came in my life. I wish that never happened to me. Asking that question of what would be missing, and what would be missing that you're actually grateful for, that you're actually happy that happened to you, what would be missing if they weren't in your life? Tough stuff. Okay, let's keep going. Anybody, who's next? Any volunteers? I think we had Indigo. She was volunteering.
I'll volunteer.
When you
Also,
ask,
the reason I want to go is because if the boys come back, then I'm gonna lose privacy. Like, could be any second. That's
Okay,
I
Indigo, can we put a
privacy.
pause in it? We'll put a pause in
That's
it.
my only thing. I fear the 18-year-old is gonna soon. Because
Yeah. 18-year-old things, they impact the mood a little bit. So yeah,
he lives downstairs in my office now. Okay, so I wanted to share something with you guys that is really powerful. That's why I wanted to not have him around. I've been asking him to put your headphones on so I can have some privacy, and he's really good about it, but you never know when he's listening and stuff. And anyway, he's really cool. But I wanted to share something with you that is really my best relationship, which is my husband. And I don't know, a lot of people really know our story. You know that I'm happily married, and that we've been together a long time, but you might not know that we've actually known each other at 16. And you might not know that when I met him was actually because he showed up at my high school, because his dad was at the high school, and he actually sort of left, got kicked out or whatever you want to call it, from a prep school, and came to public school and ended up in my grade, in 11th grade at my public high school. And I was like, it was one of those moments where you see somebody and you're like, oh, that person is going to be in my life, period. You just know. And
I did not know that story.
You probably didn't know that story. And it's a really funny story of how we go to all these parties, and I would be that girl who would come up to him 17 times straight, asking him for a light on a cigarette that I don't even smoke. And he totally never asked me, and me telling him later, him being like, oh, were you trying to get my attention? And I was just like, oh my God. And then like this whole saga of the worst relationship that I ever had intertwined with him. It's actually kind of an interesting story. My best friend kind of like apart in 17 places during this time in high school when we were like, you know, pre our, because we were kind of friends. We weren't really romantic. In fact, we kind of went out a little, and his story is that he wanted to break up with me, but I wouldn't. I told him I was in love with him and I didn't want to let him go. And then like a week later, I was like, oh, I want to break up with you and date guys. So I'll never live it down that I like, you know, like wouldn't let him break up with me. And then I left him in the dust for the college guys, you know, and consequently this that I had kind of was just evil, like to the point literally of cheating on him with our other best friend. And like Phil literally punched out this other guy in my doorway one night. I mean, there's so many funny stories. I mean, we're talking 35 years of stories, okay? So I'm 51, we've known each other since we were 16, okay? So the one story that you guys also don't know is that when I was in college, when I started RISD, Phil and I kind of just went our separate ways. He actually went off to California and I went off to college. And I went through a really, really bad mental state. I kind of went into a bipolar spin and I ended up getting really depressed. I was borderline suicidal and I was really, really freaking lost. I was really lost. And no one kind of realized how bad it was. You know, I was actually in therapy, but my mom was not really clued in and I was definitely worse than anybody realized. And there was a moment where I was in my apartment and I was literally contemplating what to do next. Like how am I going to off myself today? You know, what's like my plan? And maybe some of you have been there, you know, I've never gone through with any of this stuff, but I know it goes through your mind, like, right? Like goes through your mind at those the lowest points. And I used to go hang out by the train tracks when I was at my lowest point. And this was one night I was just home and I had a roommate, she wasn't home and I was just really, really bummed and the phone rings. I swear to God, it's Phil, like out of the freaking blue, sophomore year. And he's like, hey, it's Phil, what are you doing? Like in the back of my head, I'm like, well, it's either the oven or the cleaner at this point. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not telling him this, but I'm like, either going to stick my head in the oven or just trying to decide, right? What are you up to? You know, and he's just like, oh, you know, just think. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. And he was like, I want to come visit you. I want to see what you're up to. And I was like, okay, fine. You know, come to Providence, see what's going on. So needless to say, he pretty much saved my life like that time for the first time. But then there have been a lot of other times where like the cosmos moved and Phil just like shifts into my life in a way that is so grounding and so huge. Like to be like, Lisa, don't do that. This is where you're supposed to have your attention. This person is looking at you and you're like off in like misery. What are you doing? And it took us a while. It took a couple of years of me like going mentally crazy. Did go off on a crazy tangent. I drove my mother's car into this all like literally, and I was kind of like off my rocker for a while. And this girl, back to this girl, Deborah, recognized some of this in me because her mother had a lot of mental illness. And like I said, not everybody was super clued in. I was kind of on my own island of insanity and no one was really clued. Pretty much should have been taken out of school and like really dealt with, but I was just literally running amok, doing drugs and crazy, like sleeping with girls. And I was totally running amok and I was a mess. And this girl like said, because I went home, I think for a weekend. I used to go home all the time because it was so easy from Providence to Boston. Stood up and I was really hyper. You know how I'm kind of hyper? Imagine me like 6 times as hyper, bipolar hyper. And Deborah was like telling my mom, like, Doris, Lisa is serious. Like, you really got to freaking deal with her. Like, you got to bring her in. Like, she needs some serious help. So, because Deborah kind of like really turned my mom and was like, oh shit, we got to get her some help, really seriously. Like I needed tranquilizer and lithium, and it was like a disaster. But what like was really weird was he disappeared right after that. And Phil kind of like swooped in and became like this like rock for me. And our relationship solidified, fell in love, head over heels. We created a life together. We have 2 children. We like have this beautiful life in Costa Rica together now. And life is amazing. And this woman who broke her heart him in 6 places was a toxic entity in our life that I had to very specifically out of my life in order to make a happier life with Phil, because there was so much animosity and bitter and just horrible blackness, between him and her, that I had a choice. And there was a point at which we kind of reconnected in this weird way, all grown up, both had kids, she I don't know, somehow we found each other again. And it was this like really hard place. And because what happened was she started like getting extremely intimate with me again in this way that was really uncomfortable. And it was verbally, it was through emails and stuff, but it became really uncomfortable. And she was drawing me in, and I was having to keep it a secret from Phil, because I knew that it was going to turn him, freak him, kill. He was just going to be super pissed. It was almost like I was cheating on him with her. And a big thing about it. It was a really big problem. And I had to let her go. I had to be like, I have to drop you, because this is my priority, is my relationship with my husband. And you are just toxifying it. And he was really hurt. It was really bad. And we came through, of course, because we always come through things. But it was interesting that the best person in my life and the worst person in my life had this, emotional, physical clash, and it affected me in a huge way. And so when saying about like the kind of heavy duty bad person in your life, I didn't immediately think of her. I kind of thought of my sister, but then lately I've been kind of good sister, and I don't really have any bad vibes to her right now. And then I started thinking about my relationship with Phil, and how much it means to me, and how important it is, and how he's so much my rock, and how he's saved my life so many times, and how blessed I am to have that in my life, and to look that in, to take that for granted was that reality check of like, what are you doing? What is even the point of, be coming back with her when it's so affecting him in such a negative way? So that was a big deal. That was a big deal. And Phil and I are as, good as ever. So, we have stuff, everybody goes through stuff, marriages go through things and stuff, but still like nothing you can't break that with just petty bullshit. So just know, you guys, that those kind of relationships are so hard to find. And when you find them, do not let them go. Do not let them go. Don't take them for granted.
And I'm really interesting scenario there of like how they were intertwined, but also like going back into the reflection question of like, okay, well, what would my life be like if she didn't exist? So if that hadn't have happened, and even if she hadn't have made that re-entry, how would you be different? You wouldn't have had to make that decision. You wouldn't have had to have that awareness. You wouldn't really have made that choice of, okay, this is.
But I also think a reason why I went and sort of seeked her out. Like I kind of seeked her out, curious. There was something in me that was curious, like about where she was in her life, and so it was not like a mistake. It was like a genuine thing, and I did it behind his back. That was a bad thing. There was like obviously a reason why I wasn't upfront with him. Like, why wasn't I upfront with him? Because I knew it was going to affect him negatively, but yet I still was having secret conversations, secret emails, and he literally found the emails. He was like, what the is this? I was like, love letters from your old girlfriend to me right now? He was like, so it was like, maybe it had to happen for me to truly finish that relationship with her.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And those are the questions, right? Like the never ending questions of, why did that have to happen? What purpose did it serve for me? And how am I better because of it?
So close, because it was the best friend. I mean, this was my best friend. This was not a peripheral friend. This was my best girlfriend. And so it was like, why was I craving, that sort of back again? And why did I let her make me feel good again? It was a really weird relationship. It was weird. So there was sexual energy, sexual tension. Yeah.
I can kind of
Well,
relate
definitely.
in some ways. And if anybody knows my story,
all right, well, someone else can go now.
being with my husband for the last 8 years, but the 8 years before then, being exclusively with women, and having to make that transition of understanding why I was with women, what I needed in a relationship, what I needed from him to support what I needed in a relationship, and being able to be in a place good in myself to actually communicate that without being insecure, without it coming across as anger or resentment or anything. So yeah, relationships are crazy, but it's all about that learning process. And then when, like you say, when you just know it. Okay. So, unfortunately, oh no, we lost Indigo. Okay. Indigo, if you come back, Indigo, you're up next. Okay. Angel, you popped up. Did you want to come out here quickly and share? Because I know that you're in the middle of a million things. But you're muted. But I'm so glad to see you smiling. Let's unmute you.
Wow.
There you go.
It's amazing how the energies you ladies bring, it just raised my vibration up. We're talking, am I going to be sharing something about relationship? Is that what we're
Yeah, so the question was to think of a relationship that has had a negative impact on you, or first of all, to think of one that has had a positive impact on you, that has contributed to your life, that has, been, as many have said, the rock in their lives, and then the person that has had an extremely negative impact on your life, and just to kind of share that distinguishment between them.
For sure. Thank you very much. Well, the one that I can consider my rock and someone that had a very positive impact in my life, in my relationship, is my husband. I always, and we both consider ourselves soulmates and best friends with each other. We are able to confide with each other, I think, things that we wouldn't tell other people. So that's something that I'm very grateful about, because growing up, I've seen how my mom and dad's relationship was. It's very unstable just because of so many things going on. And then there's 5 kids in between, but I never saw them spend time together just because of so many things to be taken care of. And I don't think it was a priority for them at the time. So to me, when I got married with my husband, we both know and realize that it is important to spend time together, that those date nights should still happen even though we have kids already. And even though things are going on in our life, we still make time with each other. And to me, that contributed a lot with our marriage being successful. We turned 10 years this year, and we met online, and my mom and a lot of our friends were so against that idea of us of me meeting someone online is like nothing becomes successful from meeting someone online. And to that, I was able to show them that, you know what, it depends. And he has been my rock and the shoulder that I can depend on throughout these times. And when I was depressed, when I fell into depression, the first few years when I came here, he's the one that's always there. Even though a lot of times I think I've been more mean to him and saying these nasty words to him during those times because of depression. Just so much understanding for me and just supporting me with this journey of entrepreneurship and being independent. I'm very grateful for that. And so that's the positive impact that he has in my life. Now, person that has a negative impact on my life, I'd say it was my dad. Growing up, he was verbally, physically, emotionally, mentally abusive. And during those times up until university, I never understood why he was like that with us. And it was the reason why I wished not to be married. And I told my mom that if it's like that, and I don't want to get married, I don't want to have kids because I might end up doing to my kids what he was doing to us. And I was during university, during those times, when I did have boyfriends at the time. I had some. I remember that the only reason I will have relationship with men before is to make sure that I don't get hurt. I will make sure that they are the ones that get hurt, not me. And to me, that is because of what I saw of how my dad treated my mom and how he treated us when we were growing up. So that was the negative impact that my dad had in my life. But now that he passed away, but even I guess 3 years ago, I came to that point in my life where, you know what, forgiveness is the only way to free myself up from all these pains that I'm going through. And he acted the way he did because that's what he knew. And now I'm realizing after talking to his eldest sister that the way he acted is because that's how their dad raised them up as well. So my heart is just full of compassion for him now, and I learned to forgive him, and I guess be grateful also, because if not for him, and I guess if not for what he did, I won't be the person that I am right now, striving to be a better person and striving to be that mom who wouldn't do those abuse that he did with us when we were growing up. So
yeah, that's got to be a little bit of a tough one to talk about, the night before you leave to go back to his funeral. But again, you have this awareness, and this is something that we think is common knowledge for people to take the time to reflect on things like this. Like, well, what would be missing from my life? How am I who I am today? What strengths have come inside of me, have developed inside of me because of the negative impact of this person or because of this relationship, even though it was a negative one. And so just that awareness to keep developing that, to keep questioning, to keep asking yourself, to keep reflecting on these relationships. Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Angel. We appreciate that. So yeah, I think you already are thinking about those questions. But what would your life be like without him? What would you be missing if he hadn't been there? and those sort of things. Just kind of reflecting on it, taking that away from tonight, and we'll move on to my next Brady Bunch down the line, which is Christy. Christy, so lady.
Yeah,
What
so
came up for you?
this is hard for me because I've had people in my life that are equally both. So you know, Billy's been my best friend. He's been my best friend because he's helped me get through challenging times being in the Marine Corps. He helped me stay strong. I wouldn't have made the accomplishments that I did without his support, not just taking care of the home, not just taking care of the kids, but listening to me and advising me and helping me get through mentally, not just discarding it as, well, that's your problem or anything like that. So I had a disbelief that we were always going to be together. And, now we're not. So when he had started mentally checking out of the relationship, there was other things going on in my life as well that I didn't feel it was the marriage failing. I felt that there was other things that I needed to take care of. And I went to go work on me. But at that point, he no longer felt it was salvageable. Too much damage had been done. So now I'm trying to find other sources to find that strength. And I'm finding a lot of it in myself. But the people that I feel strongest that give me comfort are my children. But that's not their responsibility to be taking care of their mother in that sense. I shouldn't be placing that type of responsibility on my children. So yeah.
So let's just talk about him. Like even in a positive, what were the positive impacts?
Everything. That's just the thing is, even now this week, I've had dreams of him coming and telling me things, and I get through the day from messages from him in my dreams. We're still connected. Mm-hmm. I know he still has feelings for me. It's not like he's just totally gone, but he refuses to have any conversation with me other than if it deals with the kids needing things for school, or because of the things going on with the divorce. That's what he's being advised. Don't converse with her. Don't get her riled up. Don't get her irritated. And part of it is because he does care, because he knows how painful this is for me. So I know it's not just the lawyer part. But yeah, my kids, my career, being in my house, all my pictures, I was feeling that up till a couple of days ago, I felt like I couldn't even talk about good memories because he was in them. Like I had to filter out anything that dealt with him. And I just came to the realization a couple of days ago that I can't live that way. So I'm going to have my memories and I'm going to reflect on those memories and I'm going to speak as if he's still in my life because he is. We have children. We have 3 handsome, intelligent boys. And I love the hell out of them and I brag on them. And I shouldn't have to feel like I can't do that because he was a part of a memory.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the choices that I'm making now and adjusting and working around it. His sensitivity is he feels like I'm going to bash him or make him out to be the bad guy. And that's not my intent. And a lot of like what we've been doing in these sessions of finding even a bad situation and giving a blessing to it has helped me be able to come to that realization. Like a week or 2 ago, I actually got myself to say, I am thankful and grateful for this divorce, which I'm not, but I had to say it. I had to hear it. And that helped me pull myself out of a lot of the depression that I sink back into. Not seriously lows like I have in the past, but I still experience those little ripples of depression. And I'm getting stronger for that. So I look at myself as being my strongest supporter because I know me the best. And I know I'm getting stronger. And you guys are great.
You are your rock, you know it. And it takes sometimes that experience to fully see it in ourselves. And yeah, that shift in perspective though, for sure, of understanding, like how would I be a different person if this divorce had never happened? And what positive things have happened to me, have changed in me, have grown in me, have survived in me because of this. Yeah, thank you for that reflection. And that's always the thing, is that you have a talking circle, and then you have someone who has the most amazing, life-saving, positive relationship, and then someone else who is dealing with something completely different, but still you can feel that sense of, I have been through something like that. I have felt that way before. And I feel like that's really what happens in these talking circles, is you get that opportunity to hear someone else's story, someone else's perspective, someone else is going through something completely opposite, so completely different, but in some way you can relate to how they feel. In some way you can relate in your own journey to the emotion that they've been through. So Lexi, I see you, did she go? I see you standing there on your chair, and you may be like a bad back girl like me. I've got bad back syndrome. So I thought you might be stretching. So I thought I'd bring you out here. Come on out here and share some of your personal experience and kind of what came up for you as far as a positive influence relationship, or a healthy relationship and an unhealthy one.
Well, first of all, thank you all ladies for sharing so much. It means a lot to me to be part of this group. You're all very strong, and I really appreciate you being so honest and bringing so much to the table. It's awesome. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. We appreciate you too. Definitely being here and on your first time and on a heavy topic. It's we're grateful that you're participating. So yeah,
Thank you.
we can hear
It
you.
was so funny earlier when you were mimicking your husband, because I've heard his voice so much through our course. You sounded like him, and just what you were saying and mimicking him, I just couldn't help but burst out laughing. I'm sorry if I insulted you.
No, people actually say we look alike, oddly.
So that was funny. And,
But yeah.
you know, but breathing is very important, definitely. So the person in my life is my sister that I am extremely grateful for. I have 3 sisters, no brothers. We used to party together. We were a lot more friends than just sisters. Our sisterhood went way beyond. We read each other's minds. We hung out all the time. We worked together. We just got along so well. It was amazing. And
were you guys close in age?
yes, all 4 of us are only within 5 years of each other. My older sister and I are exactly 15 months apart as well. No, 13 months apart, like your kids. Yours are 15, you said?
Yeah, 15.
We're 13 months. So I related to that when you said that. So, but Bonnie and I, this one I'm talking about, we're 2 years apart. And we just shared so many great memories growing up and in our 20s. And then she got married, and that's fine. Got along with her husband and everything for a while, and he turned out to be, well, not who we all thought he was. And it kind of became problematic. They had 3 kids, and I was babysitting for the kids, and I was going to Christmas concerts and hockey games, and we always spent Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving together. The whole family would get together, and Bonnie and I would cook. We'd plan everything out, and we'd be the hosts and everything. And it was just such a blast. And then her husband started abusing her physically and mentally. And it went on for a long time after they had the 2nd child. The 3rd child was much different. He was born out of anger, very angry baby, but their relationship was at a very angry stage at that time. I could see it, and I was pulling away because I didn't like what I was seeing. But I still missed her. I missed her so much. Even being with her through the kids, just babysitting her kids was being close to her. I loved it. It didn't matter if she was there or not. I was with her kids, so it was great, right? And they were a lot of fun. And I was working shift work one night, and she called me at work, and she never calls me at work. I need you. You got to come over here. And it was 12:30 at night. And she shared this with me that he'd been physically abusing her, and the kids had seen it. And so I said, okay, tomorrow we're going, what do you need me to do? What do you need me to do? And she told me, and I said, tomorrow we're going to go do this and this and this and everything out, and I'm going to help you. And for the first couple weeks, she was pulling away from him, and she was planning to move out and take the kids, and we had a plan and had banking squared away. She had money and all this, and then suddenly she phoned and said, never mind, I'm coming back to him. I can't leave him. And I don't want you to ever tell anybody this happened. And I didn't know what to think. I was scared. For 3 months I kept the secret, and I was so scared for her safety and for the kids' safety. He drank a lot. And I kept the secret for 3 months. And my other sister called me, and she heard something in my voice, and she said, what's going on? And I just burst out bawling, and I couldn't keep the secret anymore, and I told her. So she went and told my parents, his parents, the whole family, and next thing you know, the shit hit the fan. It just all blew up. I was the bad guy. I was the liar. None of it was true. He wasn't abusing her. Sorry, this is just like reliving the whole thing. And that's the point at which I was losing my best friend. And we tried to keep things together after that. Everybody talked. We tried to talk things through, and it just kind of got uglier. There was too much water under the bridge. And next thing you know, she wouldn't allow me to see her kids. She didn't want to see me. And then my parents took a stand, and they wouldn't bring the kids over because she threatened them, and she said, if you get kids over there, I won't talk to you ever again, and you won't be able to see my kids. And so everybody stopped calling me for Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving and Easter and all that. And I was slowly getting shut out. And then the best friend in my life, my sister, became the worst person in my life. So she's one and the same person. It's kind of confusing, but she went from the best friend to the person that shut me out, called me names, turned her back on me completely, and it hurt so bad. And I had to get counseling. Started doing drugs, cocaine. I went to Al-Anon because I thought that would help me understand what her husband was like. And then I had to go to ADAC to get myself off coke. So that was about 20 years ago. Her and I actually spoke on the phone about 16 months ago. And I was trying to build a new bridge. I missed her so much. My life was never the same without her. I just missed her terribly. And I kept telling her 16 months ago, I said, I love you. I want you back in my life. Well, how can we start new? Can we build a new bridge? And she started calling me names and putting me down. And this horrible, mean tone of her voice came out. And everything just went terrible. I don't know how she got the conversation to go from I love yous to totally mean hatred. It was like the devil. It didn't even sound like her. It was not the person I remembered. I got off the phone and I was shaking. And it took me about a month to pull myself together. And I realized, in answer to your question, what I learned from this, if someone can't be honest with themselves, they can't be honest with somebody else. One of the reasons my family pulled away is because I don't have children. I've had 20 years to think about it. I'm the only one that doesn't have kids, but I love kids. So it was easy for them to shut me out. My parents have always wanted these bragging rights. Every time a grandchild came along, the whole world knew about it. We had to put it in the newspaper. We had to tell the whole world, and phone everybody, and it was, Mom and Dad are going to fly here and going to fly there to go see the grandkids, and it was a big, big deal. Everybody had to know, a big broadcast. So I mean, it's very proud. It might be to the point of bad pride. I don't know, but I truly believe that it was easy to shut me out because I have no kids, and I was kind of the black sheep growing up. I was the rebel, but I was also told I was the strongest out of the four of us. So if you want to make sense out of that, you can go ahead and try, but and I moved 7 hours to be back for selfish reasons, back to where I grew up, but also because this is where most of my family is. And my door is always open to them. They know that. And if they want to continue to shut the door on me, that's fine. I've forgiven them. I've completely forgiven them. and I love them. And it's made me a better person, knowing what I don't want to be when I grow up. Knowing that I want to be honest to me first, because I can't be honest to somebody else if I can't be honest to me first.
That's a very profound lesson. You cannot be honest with anyone until you're honest with yourself. And there's just so many people that just don't know their truth, you know, and it's unfortunate. And I think that you maybe experienced that 16 months ago with your sister, is just her losing that truth and losing touch with that. Thank you for sharing. And even though it's funny because we come to these talking circles and, you know, you expect to hear all of this advice on relationships and this is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't do. This is the bad things. These are the good things. But really, as you listen to these stories and you listen to these experiences, you can identify them. You can see them in yourself. And as you identify them, you're actually strengthening your abilities. You're actually strengthening your awareness to your ability to distinguish what makes a healthy relationship, what makes an unhealthy relationship. So it's actually a better way, or one way to learn. So yes, let's keep going. Let's go over Susan Strong. So share with us the positive person in your life and then the negative person in your life.
Okay, I would say, well, my positive person is easy. That would be my partner, Bill. He's definitely my rock. If he's always encouraging with whatever I want to do, and he's the type of person that if I feel down, he does something stupid to try to make me laugh. You know, so I just I'm feel blessed to have him in my life, and I definitely would not be here in Costa Rica if it wasn't for him, because I always wanted to be what I consider a free spirit, but I never had the guts. And you know, he was the one that said, "Hey, let's think about moving somewhere." And so one thing led to the other, and I wouldn't have done that. You know, I know I wouldn't have done that on my own. But I'm glad I did.
Yeah, those positive people push you. You know, not only do they believe in you and encourage you, but they stretch you, and that's awesome.
And I guess negative person was probably a prior relationship that lasted about 12 years, and it ended, or I ended it, you know, because I found he was cheating on me. And so, and it's hard to get over that. I know I probably went over it took about 3 years to get past that. And not that I didn't want him in my life at all. It was just, I think because I trusted him. I was married. Well, I was married for 9 years, right out of college, and I had my daughter when I was 29. And so it wasn't that relationship; it was the relationship that I had after that. And the relationship, well, my marriage ended because I found out he had cheated with my best friend, and I just didn't feel like I could ever trust him, and so I definitely had a fan trust thing. And then when this other guy came along, he was, you know, older than I was, and I don't know, I felt like I trusted him. And then when what happened, you know, it bothered me a lot. It just bothered me a lot. But I tell you, I always go back to the saying is, things happen for a reason, and they always work out for the best. So no matter how low or down you are, just know that it might suck right now, but it's there for a reason, and something better is going to happen. It just, I don't know, with my experience, it always happens.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's everything is as it should be. That's kind of been my mantra is, we're always on this quest to change things, or on this quest or this search for this ultimate epic Prince Charming fairy tale lifestyle. And, everything right now is as it should be. There is a reason, there's multiple reasons that everything is existing right now, and there's multiple lessons on multiple different levels that you are meant to learn, and sometimes we have to learn these lessons several times over before we actually truly understand them. So yeah, you're learning, you're growing. There is a reason for sure. Look at that lightning out there behind you, Susan. That's awesome. Okay, let's go over to April. So April, looking all pretty over there. She's come on out here and share a bit of your experience, or like someone did the positive person come to mind right away?
Yeah. It was actually, it was two older women in my life when I was young. One did my hair when I was 12. She used to do my hair, and she just was always very uplifting and always tried to empower me, because I was reserved in certain situations. I'm an introvert. I didn't know that term then, but I get it now. But she was always very nurturing to me and just very empowering, and she instilled that in me. And then after her, it was my spiritual advisor. She was my metaphysical teacher, and I studied under her for 12 years, and she changed my life, also very empowering. But through all of that, and during all that span of time, there was, of course, raggedy ass boyfriends that, cheated on me and all that kind of stuff. But I can't really blame, I can't really think that they're the problem. I think it really stems back to my dad. And he was a great man. He's passed away about 13 years now. But he was a Navy man, so we didn't travel with my dad. We stayed put, and he did the whole traveling thing. And he favored my sister, basically, and we just clashed. I didn't like him, he didn't like me. And he used to tease me because I would be reserved in certain situations. And I think I definitely, that left a mark on me, so that the guys in my life kind of brought that out of me as well. They were just like him, bringing that insecurity and that feeling of not being good enough, like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm not good with story. I think I'm in my head a lot. I don't talk. I think more than I talk, basically. Let's put it that way. So I'm pretty cut and dry. So that's about it.
So when you look at that relationship with your dad, and you kind of did state some of the negative impacts that it had on future relationships, and some of the men that you ended up with and picked, and some of the insecurities that kind of shackled to you along in some of the different relationships. But what are, like, again, kind of thinking of what would you be like without that experience, without having to go through that? How have you grown in a way to...
Well, yeah, it definitely showed things. It was a mirror for me. Things were mirrors of things of how I felt about myself were reflected back to me in the relationships, obviously, that I was having. And before my father died, I was already in my spiritual development and just trying to understand my whole place in the universe and all that. And so before he passed, I was lucky enough and thankful enough to understand that he was just a soul just like I am. Just because he had the role of dad doesn't mean that, he was perfect or I was perfect, because I wasn't all that, nice to him either. So, but he died of cancer in our home. And watching him go through that, I was just very thankful that I was able to forgive his behavior and my behavior through that time. And I'm thankful because he was a good dad. I mean, all in all, he was the one that put that entrepreneurial spirit in me, because he was an Amway distributor. And I used to go with him to the conventions and stuff like that. And he put that bug in my mind. And I'm like, yeah, I want that one day, one day I want to do that. And he was always telling me how to pay yourself first and all these wonderful things. So yeah, I would not be the person that I am, especially trying to start a business, had he not been in my life. So
yeah, I definitely want my kids to be like, oh, my parents took me to those crazy events, and like looking back on them as starting that spark. So that's awesome that you can, first of all, that you can allow yourself to forgive, because a lot of people will hold on to that resentment or hold on to anger, and it just affects them, and it's so like debilitating. And when you can let that go and release it, it's empowering. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so let's go over to Sophie B. Sophie B in the house. Well, out of the house, outside the house.
No, I'm in the doorway.
The doorway. Okay, so what came up for you as far as a positive person and a negative person?
Okay, so well, it's very challenging because this is what I deal with in my life. I live through helping women with bad relationships. So immediately when you said that, I would obviously think that originally my sister is my BFF, my everything, my hard rock. She's always positive, always sweet. She's like, you're like, you wish you could be her. Like, she's so cute and everything. She's got a great husband. She's always been my rock. And then when you originally said it, the immediate thing that I thought about negative was the father of my boys, who was a narcissist and had many relationships behind my back. And, it was extremely hurtful, and it devastated me beyond words. But once I could hear all you ladies sharing, which I appreciate all your stories and being so open. But when I dig deep and I think about like who influenced me and who really made me who I am, it really boils down to my best friend and her brother. My best friend has been there for me since I was 13 years old. We're still best friends. We live totally separate lives. She likes girls, I like guys, whatever. But anyways, she's always been there for me, and she's the same. She's says it as it is. She's hardcore, but still loving and honest and beautiful. But her brother is the guy who raped me when I was 16 years old on New Year's Eve. And it wasn't until I started wanting to become a speaker and going to speech classes at Toastmasters that I actually put it together, that experience of being raped, because I knew that obviously, I knew that was all the pain about it. I went to therapy, forgave myself, and I actually spoke to him and forgave him. So I never thought that like I was still like in pain about it. And I took these speech classes, and like my passion, through Layla and a lot of other things that's going on, digging deeper, finding out your passion. And I was like, wow, like I suffered a lot because of, the fact that I was raped and violently raped on New Year's Eve by somebody that I
Did we lose her? Did she freeze? I think she's frozen. Well, that's quite a pattern interrupt cliffhanger right there. Yeah, definitely interesting process that, and I can't even really, when we start to get into some of the topics that we do, when we get into topics about rape and abuse, like it's blows my mind how deep the scars go from an experience like that, and how much they affect future relationships and the impact. Okay, so maybe Sophie will come back. The one thing I wanna kind of leave you with, one thing that I think about when I hear these stories is how do I want to impact other people? You know, what kind of relationships do I want people to remember me by? And when I listen to all of the positive people in your lives, you know, trying to identify those traits, trying to identify what was it about those relationships that really allowed them to be that person, that one person that you call, you know, your most positive, that you call your number one. And how can I work on my own relationships to incorporate more of that into what I do, into my connections, into my love. So that's kind of, as I'm hearing these stories, and maybe, you know, as you're watching the replay, just kind of think about that as you go through that process of, you know, what can I work on? Because this is, as we make, and I'm only learning all of this astrology, and it just always seems to make sense. Like every time, I don't know any of it, and I always just kind of look it up and go with the flow with it. But as soon as I do, and I'm looking at what day it is and where the planets are and what's going on, I'm like, oh yeah, that actually is perfectly explaining of what's going on right now. So right now, I was reading that it's one of the great times. Oh, Sophie's back. One of the great times to start fresh and to, you know, to work on those relationships, to work on the things that matter in relationships, and contribution and compromise, and all of these traits that, you know, encouragement, empowerment, not judgmental, loving and supporting, and all of these things that we want, that we can create. So yes, Sophie, we didn't mean, we were just saying how that was quite the cliffhanger you left on, you know, talking about being raped, violently raped on New Year's Eve, and then you
Can I finish my story really quick?
Yeah.
I'll do it quick.
Yes,
I'm sorry, my computer died. So yeah, so then what I was saying was that when I was in these speech classes and I was trying to come up with a speech to help teenagers not experience, you know, something like this, or to open their eyes to something like this, is when I realized that relationship affected me throughout my entire life. It's like the kind of people I allowed in my life to hurt me and to allow me to become very depressed. And then when I was saying to you before was that the one that came first to me about the one that hurt me was the father of my boys. He actually had like 5 other families, 5, and we had 2 kids together. So it's like it allowed me to get to the point where I didn't believe or respect or love myself enough to think that, like, outside the box, I believed the lies, you know, because I had been in a position where I just allowed myself to be thinking that I wasn't worthy enough. And once I got through that, and I, you know, got to the point where I started working on myself and started realizing, like, I had awesome parents. Like, how did I get to the point where this happened to me? Is when it started to like, you know, I started to click, like, and then once I did that Toastmasters class where I talked about it and I was trying to express to what I was preparing for teenagers, is when I realized that situation is what impacted me the most. And, you know, if it wasn't for that situation, which is horrible, but I wouldn't have been, you know, with the person that was my dad, my daughter's dad, or the father of my 2 boys. So it impacted me in a way that, you know, I'm a mom because of those hard situations. Thank God I'm not with anyone that's like that anymore. But I did get blessed with awesome children. So you always have to, you know, see that, even though doesn't mean that people have to go through it. But you have to see, you know, the good. So when you were saying, like, who is it, the one that impacted you, that you could see where you are now? Well, it's a mix of the two, you know. It's a mix of, you know, being raped and being in situations where you allowed yourself to be in bad relationships, and getting to the point where you're with somebody has 5 families going on while being with you, and you're like, what? No way. I'm not that other girl. I deserve to be the only girl. And that's when I just finally woke up and, you know, took like reins of my life and figured what I really wanted out of life, and, you know, and took control of that. And that made a huge difference. And it doesn't mean that you have to go through that, but it did make me go through that to get to that point.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point, is, you know, understanding that, okay, if that hadn't happened in my life, I wouldn't be here today. You know, if I hadn't had to deal with that crazy, what, are you joking me? That was the serious slap in the face that you needed to wake up, because a part of you kind of knew that it wasn't right, knew that something wasn't working, and that was like the reality check of like, okay, I need to make a change.
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with that I actually had like awesome parents. I mean, I was an amazing father. So I had a great role model to compare to, but it still didn't stop me from 15 years of abuse. So
yeah, and that's that perspective of looking back, and that sort of light bulb moment that happened in Toastmasters, where you realize that you are still being affected, and it still is affecting your decision making, and it still is affecting your self-worth and the way that you see yourself, and once you can put the spotlight on it, once you can shine the spotlight on it, then that's when the work starts. That's when we can start healing, we can forgive, we can move forward, we can shift, but it's that awareness. So awesome. Ladies, this has definitely been a powerful session. I am appreciative of all of you being here. Another 2-hour session, I know. But I really do feel like just on a lot of different levels, I learned a lot of different things, not only about you individually, you know, feeling closer. There's always something, every time I leave a talking circle, I feel like we know each other a little bit more, and we deepen that bond a little bit more, even with the newbies, you know, that come. So they never know what they're in for. But yeah, so we're going to be meeting for our next public talking circle in 2 weeks' time. So not this Monday, next Monday. So I really want us to make a conscious effort to bring a friend. Does that sound lame? Bring a friend, and, you know, someone that you, and I think that we could even do like a collaborative topic. Like let's start a thread in the Facebook group and see if we can come up with something together. Oh, Indigo had to go. Okay, that's good. I hope I didn't want her to think that we gave her the shaft. But yeah, so we can come up with a fun topic or something that you guys want to talk about in the next talking circle in the next 2 weeks, and then have like a bring a friend sort of theme where we bring someone, even if they're sitting at your house and you're like, dude, let's sit on the couch and do this together. Listen to these stories. It's a riot. So yeah, that's the mission. Also, not this Thursday, next Thursday is our final session for the Facebook Live. Again, if you haven't started the Facebook Live challenge, don't think that it's something that, like, just do it. Just do today. The whole point of it is to give you incentive to do something that, in my opinion, if you're in business and you're working on Facebook, you should be working on anyways, because it's a skill set. It's something that takes time to develop, especially your comfort level, understanding the flow, the techniques of Facebook Live, all that stuff. And it's definitely not going anywhere. And it's a marketing strategy that you want to get better at. So the challenge is only there to help you get better. So don't think that you like, oh my God, I missed the whole 2 weeks. Just start today. Just start on your Techie Tuesday and come up with your own topics if you want. Like, I don't even care if you use our topics. Like, just push yourself to go live, to get creative, and to support the other women that are doing it as well. All right, ladies, I love you. I appreciate you. I would love for you guys to
I'm sorry, I kind of feel bad about that.
I love for you guys to reflect.
Well, you know why? Because I think some ladies were worried about where to start, and so just knowing that they, it doesn't matter. Now we can answer their questions and let them know.
Yeah,
they can jump in. It's really formal. They don't have to worry about topics if they don't want to. I've had some questions, so it's good. It's good to just hear that.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so yes, it's almost time to go. It is time to go. Goodbye. Farewell. We just saw Shar come. Sure, sorry. I got to wrap it up here for a second, but we will get your screenshot. Why don't we get your smiling face in there? Alrighty then. Cheese. Got it. Okay. Love you guys. My butt is like seriously numb right now and I can't move. So I need to walk around and move around. All right. See you ladies. Good night.